was standing in line at Starbucks the other day and just ordered my drink and was waiting because most of the time I just get a really simple drink. It's coffee, hot, and a cup of ice. That's it. It's usually really fast. And so most of the time the cashier serves my ice and my coffee and I'm out of there. I was waiting for her to fill that. There were some mobile orders that came in. There's some people who had already ordered their drink, but they were handmade drinks, so they were standing in line. And there were a couple of people standing there chatting with each other, and then one lady who was standing there talking on her phone. And as she was talking on her phone, a drink was set up on the counter, and she, still talking on her phone, walked up, grabbed the drink, took one sip out of it, and then practically spit it on the floor. She was like, "Oh, that is nasty. What is that?" And then started to yell at the barista. Well, this went on for 20 or 30 seconds, and then the barista looked at her and said, "What is your name, ma'am?" And she told her, and the barista took the cup and pointed to someone else's name on the side of the cup. Now, it's a pretty easy mistake with new cups flying up to the counter on a regular basis and short little people behind the counter and noise and everything else going on. It's pretty easy to make a mistake of whether you heard your name or somebody else's. It's pretty easy when you're distracted on the phone to not hear your name at all and to see the cup up there and think, well, it's about time for mine, I should be next, and to just grab the cup. But to grab the cup without reading the name, well, whose fault is that? See, here's what I know though. She got really irritated and really irritable because what she expected to be in that cup was not what was in that cup. And so for the moment, what her mind thought was going to happen and what actually happened were totally different. In the world of thought processes, we call that cognitive dissonance. What you expected and reality don't match. What you thought was going to happen and what really happened didn't come together. It's kind of like when you are hoping to get the job, but in the back of your heart, in the back of your mind, you're thinking there's no chance I'm going to get this job. You'll eventually talk yourself out of it. And I don't mean talk yourself out of going for the interview. You might even go for the interview. You might even sit down face to face with the second or the third interview. But because in the back of your heart, in the back of your mind, you're convinced, I'm not worthy of this job, or it's not going to pay enough, or I'm not going to get enough vacation days, or really not qualified, they just haven't discovered that yet. If those negative thoughts are going on in your mind, even silently, you have cognitive dissonance. And that cognitive dissonance will drive you off track because your body will respond to the cognitive dissonance because it's in your subconscious mind. The things that you don't think you're thinking about, you're still thinking about. Neuroscience has proved that the awake mind, the conscious mind, the thinking mind moves at about 2,000 bits per second. It's the subconscious mind that moves at about 40 gigabytes per second, 400 million megabytes per second, 40 gigabytes per second. But what that means is I can pretty much download anybody's iPhone in 1 second. In 1 second. Even with the biggest iPhones, in 3 seconds, you can wipe the hard drive clean. With the amount of thoughts going on in your mind, subconsciously. But see, here's something else you need to know. All of those subconscious thoughts will pick up feelings along the way. They'll show up on your face, in your eye movement, in your body language, the way you sit. Study some of Brenda Brown's stuff and Dr. P, and you'll see that whether your body language is closed or open, whether your chest is open, your back is straight, and your hands are in front of you or down to your side, each one of those things is informing your body and your brain how it's thinking. Those thoughts going on in your subconscious mind will often tell your body how to react. And if you feel a little bit fearful, your body will feel the same. And if you feel a little bit unsure, your spouse will say, so the facial expression feeling or an emotion equals an attitude. So when I talk about the attitude hack, what I mean by that is realizing that you have a choice in the thoughts in your mind. And you have a choice in the feelings in your mind. And because you can change either one of those, you can change your attitude. And because we have mirror neurons as human beings, the way that I feel about you might be reflected in my face, which means you're probably going to reflect that as well. There's an electromagnetic movement in our brain that is constantly going. We actually pull off enough energy. You can study Dr. Daniel, one of the neuroscientists who can tell you this. We pull off enough energy from our brains to light your cell phone for months. You could power your cell phone for months from the energy that comes off of your brain. Now, when you're in a room full of other people, all of that energy is transferring from person to person. Have you ever walked by somebody and just thought, wow, I got a really weird vibe from them? The things going on in their mind, the emotions that are being carried in their body, they're transferable. Attitude is contagious. If you're in an environment where everyone's attitude is negative, where everyone's a little bit irritated, where the strain and the passion, in fact, they call it the mob mentality. And those who understand the mob mentality, even if they don't fully understand it, if they've ever tested it, they realize how powerful it is. You could put 1,000 people who don't care about anything in a room. And most of them will stand around and have a casual conversation, maybe play on their cell phones, and they're harmless. But 5 people in that room who are irritated about something, who have a loud voice, who can agitate the crowd, and suddenly you have a mob of 1,000 people moving in the direction of the 5 who inspired or instigated them to behave. It's a dangerous combination. See, one lady at the counter upset at the barista, calling her all kinds of names. There may be people there now upset because they know the barista and they like her. There may be people there who are upset because maybe one is of different skin color than the other, and suddenly it seems like a racial thing. You did this because I'm not the same color of skin as you. All kinds of blame and accusations, and now the tension is rising in this little environment, and everybody in the room can feel it. The people on their headphones across the room can see the tension out of the corner of their eye, and the dynamic of the room changes. You can see that happening, can't you? You can see that happening in the classroom or in the office, in your workspace. When one person has a horrible day getting to work and they had a flat tire, or they had an accident, or they got stuck in a road rage incident and somebody pulled a gun on them, and their day is just horrible, and they're in tears, or their makeup is running, or their clothes are all disheveled, and they walk in the office and it's like they carry in this bag of negative soup and just pour it on everybody. And before lunchtime, everybody is stressed out. Everybody's having a bad day. Nobody wants to talk to anybody. Nothing productive is happening in the office. And it's all because one attitude got pushed askew. One person's feelings got hurt. Somebody stepped on their feelers. And they started thinking to themselves, why does everybody do this to me? And they feel like they have to protect themselves. They think about protecting themselves. They think about being a victim. And that thought and that feeling becomes an attitude, which becomes contagious. Now everybody has it. If you've ever been to a 5K that was also a color run, meaning they use the chalk and the powders, and sometimes they'll use chalk with a CO2 dispenser, they kind of shoot the colors out there as you run around the track, and sometimes the runners have them. Usually it's the stations on the run that have them, and you get popped with this color as you run by, and that's kind of how they know what stations you've been through. Did you run the whole race? Did you take a shortcut? Did you make each marker all the way around? And so if you come back and you look like a bag of Skittles with all the colors on you, they know you ran the whole race. And if you come back with only one color on you, either you avoided the rest of the race, or you avoided the rest of the race by taking a shortcut. But the color run is a contagious type of an event as well, because once they pop that chalk and that chalk dust is in the air, anybody running through it gets impacted by it. You just get it all over you. And then you run against somebody else who's sweaty in a white shirt, and you rub colors against each other. Now you got their colors and they got your colors, and you both look like Skittles. And in a classroom or a work environment, attitude is exactly the same way. Attitude is contagious. It rubs off on people. You get one student with a bad attitude because of the way the teacher treated them, because they were late to class, because they were just having a bad day altogether. Maybe it was something at home. And they bring that attitude into your classroom and crash. Your whole attitude, your whole classroom now has a bad attitude, and they don't want to listen to the teacher. They want to commiserate with this person who's having a bad day, and it happens on a regular basis, all day long, all of the plans. You know what else? See, a positive attitude is equally contagious. You get someone who just walks around with a smile on their face for no justifiable reason, and they laugh and they giggle and everything, but people laugh and giggle with them because they laugh and giggle with them. They don't know why. It was a skit when I was in Boy Scouts. In fact, I remember my boys doing a skit when they were in Boy Scouts. And one person would just stand there and the sky. And the other person would walk up and look to see what they were looking at. And then a third person would walk up and they would look to see what the other two people were looking at. And finally, someone would walk up and say, "What are you looking at?" And guy number 3 would go, "I don't know, I'm looking at what they're looking at." And so he'd ask number 2, "What are you looking at?" He's like, "I don't know, I'm looking at what he's looking at." And he'd ask number 1, "What are you looking at?" But see, it's not the justification of the God. They're mirroring your behavior. They're mirroring your attitude. Why? Because they are mirroring your attitude. Test this. The next time you have a conversation with someone face to face, whether it's a job interview, you're chatting over coffee, or you're just sitting there with your phones. At random, put your hands in different places. Cross your arms. Lean back in your chair. Lean forward in your chair. Turn on one elbow. And you'll find, after a period of time, either the person across from you will go, "What's wrong with you? Why are you doing that?" Or they'll begin to do it themselves. You'll also notice if someone else, someone that you respect, someone who has influence in your life, is a thinker. Or you're talking to them. That when you stop talking, you'll find yourself thinking, or you're listening to them. The mirror neurons in our brain cause us to imitate. Now, where does all this start? It starts at the beginning. Many people have said, life is 10% what happens to and 90% what you choose to do about it. Let me add to that. It's 90% what you choose to feel and think about it. If something happens that you're not pleased with and you choose to be ticked off about it, you could be ticked off the rest of the day. And then all of the thoughts that you have in your mind, all the things you think about, all that you feel about the rest of the day is going to be under the ticked off category. It'll tick you off that you got one less English P than everybody else at lunch. It'll tick you off that the server didn't give you a straw. You'll feel like it was personal. Come on, you know what's happened to you. You've had days like that. It starts when you can't find your left shoe. And it ends when you get into bed at the end of the night and trip over your left shoe. And all day long, the left shoe mentality is driving you to be a little bit irritated, to feel a little bit put out, to feel like everybody's got something in for you. The sad part is there are people who live their whole life that way. Every relationship, every expectation that they say they have in their life, they really have a counter expectation in their subconscious mind. They say they want something, but subconsciously don't feel like they deserve it. And so they're sabotaging everything their efforts look like they're trying to accomplish because the subconscious mind and the conscious mind don't agree with each other. These things cause physical harm in your body. If you could see them on the CAT scans, you would actually see black spots in the brain function areas where negative thoughts have caused inflammation and parts of the brain are literally shutting down. I heard Dr. Caroline Leaf say recently that when a husband and wife have an argument, the brain is so impacted by that negativity, by that negative energy, by those bad thoughts, by those bad feelings. The brain is so impacted by that the immune defense of your body drops by 50%. Wow, that's huge. Can you imagine how easy it is to get sick in a marriage when you fight all the time? Wonder why people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Maybe that has something to do with it. So what is an attitude hack? The attitude hack is the tool that you have to actually insert into your thought processes very specific techniques to change the way you think and change the way you feel. Change the way you think, change the way you feel. Sometimes it's just the radio dial, and you may not remember this because you live in the age of HD radio and digital dials where you just push the button and it scans to the best station and then locks in. But we used to have to turn the knob, and sometimes you'd get just the right sound and you see the little stereo light come on, you know you had the strongest signal. But if you just bump that knob, it's a little off frequency, and so you're picking up 2 stations at a time, or you're picking up the station and a bunch of static. In your life, just that little tweak of the way you think, that little tweak of the way you feel, choosing to feel about the facts in a different way. Yes, that's possible. I heard a gentleman say one time, he was really into the mind sciences, he said, when your attitude is right, the facts don't even matter. Well, that seems a little silly, but ask a POW. When your attitude is right, when the way that you choose to think and the way that you choose to feel are in alignment, you can have peace in the worst of circumstances. You could lose everything and be at peace. You could also be high on the hog. We know this happens too. Rock stars, movie stars, millionaires who commit suicide, and we can't understand why. Because it's not the material wealth, it's not all the good circumstances, it's not the ideal scenario that brings us peace. It's our attitude, it's the thoughts and the feelings that we choose. Now I could go on for hours on this. In fact, I've taught for 6 or 7 hours on this in the University of Kinshasa, in the government and PTA, state